afternoon, everyone. Welcome. My name is Marinda Hall, and I'm the host of Theatre 2. Before we start, I would like all these people, all you guys sitting here and you sitting here, could you please move to these chairs? Because it's much nicer for our speakers. Thank you so much. Yeah, could you, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Thank you. Great. A welcome to you here live, also for those moving in, great. And a welcome to you if you're looking at our recording. We have all sessions here in Theatre 2 recorded for you, and they are available online through the Intertraffic app. If you've missed anything, you can go back to the app and see. That's nice. What else do I need to say? Yeah, I think that's it. We have two speakers for you today about next generation environmental traffic management. We've talked a lot about traffic management, about policy making. We've talked a lot about the technical side, and now it's next generation environmental traffic management. So I'm excited to see what that is. We have Paolo Rivelli from AIMSOM, who's going to join us, and Anita Macho from Intertraffic. And before we start, we would love to show you a video about some background on Intertraffic, and we'd like to show to you that now.
We are Intertraffic, and we connect the dots of a new mobility revolution. More and more people are living in cities and share a limited amount of space. Their need for mobility increasingly exceeds the capacity of our transportation systems and road networks. As a result, they experience a constant rise of congestion, air pollution, accidents, and delays. A serious challenge, not only for the people who live there, but for our whole planet. As the global leader for intelligent traffic solutions, we can make an important contribution to solving these challenges. With digitalization and the use of disruptive technologies, we enable cities, highway authorities, and mobility operators to create a new world of mobility with vehicles that are shared, connected, and autonomous. Tunnel automation, smart tolling, and adaptive traffic systems for simulation and prediction that allow for a totally new level of traffic management that is truly proactive. This will transform our cities into a place where people can live, work, and move more freely, with better quality of life, less accidents and air pollution, which will play a critical part in solving our climate crisis. Urban mobility must and will change. And we will lead the way. Intertraffic. Uniting what's next in traffic.
Can I have a round of applause for Anita Macho?
Thank you very much. We talk today about next generation environmental traffic management. I'm really happy about your interest because this topic is really close to my heart. I think we all have the duty to do something for environmental traffic management, and also we have the possibility. I'm really proud to be working in such an area. Let me give you a short introduction of what you will be hearing today. We will first understand why is environmental traffic management so important? What are the challenges that cities and regions currently have? Then my colleague Paolo will give you insights on both strategic and operational tools, especially on the modeling for sustainable mobility. I then take you on a journey in the steps and in the shoes of a traffic operator, and we will see how can we use these models in real-time traffic management. And I'm proud to show you a demo with real-life data from Wiesbaden, where we have already implemented our solution and where we can show the benefits of such a system. Last but not least, there will be more generations of environmental traffic management. We will give you an outlook of where we see the future of this topic, because it's not ending here, definitely not. There will be much more steps that we all together have to take. And last but not least, of course, we're open for your questions and interested in your topics and also in your insights. So why is it so important? First of all, you are all affected by air pollution. Our health is infected. The World Organization, they estimate that 4.2 million premature deaths have been caused by air pollution in 1 year. That is far too much. And society also now sees that this is a topic, and traffic causes a large part of air pollution. No wonder that now regulators are setting penalties. For example, in the European Union, there are 18 countries that do not meet the requirements and that are now, soon have problems and need to lower their emissions. Also, before the pandemic, we already had an increasing mobility demand, and we see that now is already wrapping up and continuing. So the problem is not going away, it will be accelerating through the increased mobility demand. So for example, in the US, according to an INRIX scorecard, there were the US citizens 99 hours in a traffic jam. And some people only have this kind of, these days in holidays, if you compare that. And it's a challenge, but also an opportunity. In the funding programs, we see more and more that cities and regions have to prove that their measurements are really beneficial for the environment. And this needs to be measured and proven. So therefore, it makes a lot of sense to think about environmental traffic management and more importantly, to act on that. I would like now to hand over to my colleague Paolo to give you insights on the strategic and the operational tool that we have at hand. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead. Paolo Ranelli.
Hello, everyone. At Aimsun, we've been modeling traffic and mobility for the past 20 years. And now we are part of the Intertraffic family, and so we are putting together our traffic modeling capabilities and the Unix traffic management platform to improve the mobility in cities. When dealing with environmental matters, you have to think about two different time horizons. Most effective interventions require a change in the behavior of the travelers. And those changes require more profound modifications, more profound interventions, like building bus priority lanes, introducing ultra-low emission zones, creating connected vehicle applications, or even improving the cycle infrastructure to promote active transport mode, or reducing the use of private car via parking regulations. All these strategies are longer term and require a platform capable of dealing with a modal choice, activities, and more longer term decisions. And this is our Aimsun Next modeling platform. On the other end, once you've done these longer-term interventions, there's still some short-term actuations you can implement. Things like improving signal timings, for example, or giving route advice to vehicles. And those are actuations you implement in real time with short-term outcomes. And for these, we have our Aimsun Live platform. Let's now enter into a bit more of details of these two platforms. So with long-term analysis, Aimsun Next. The characteristic of Aimsun Next is that it's a mobility modeling platform that includes multiple modeling levels, from macroscopic to microscopic through mesoscopic. Why this? Because there are different interventions, different studies that may require you to deal with the detail of a single intersection or a corridor or sometimes the entire city. And you want a model that supports all this type of analysis. You don't want to build different separate models that are totally independent and non-compatible between them. Moreover, you want a platform that is fully multimodal. And so it includes public transport, it includes pedestrians, it includes cyclists, and policies like transit signal priority and detailed representation of traffic signals. And you also want capability of calculating emissions at all these levels. And so from detailed models that follow the trajectory of individual vehicles like FEM to aggregated models that just are based on an average speed over segments like Copert. And so what Aimson Next gives you is this flexibility to to apply the methodology that is suitable to the policy you are studying. And you're not forced to adapt to what the tool you use is capable of. This video is a visual representation for those of you who are not familiar with traffic modeling about what it is. So it's essentially capturing the interactions between different road users and the effect of signal timings and predicting the impact of things like building a bus lane, introducing transit signal priority, or building bike lanes. And all these for longer-term planning. Now, the other use case, short-term actions in real time. Aimson Live. Well, with Aimson Live, what we want to do is understand what's going on now in the city, get a forecast, short-term forecast, up to the next 60 minutes of the evolution of the current conditions, so that we can intervene in case it's needed. The Aimson Live approach is based on fusing two technologies, AI and simulation. AI is particularly good at dealing with recurrent situations. So whenever there's a pattern that can be identified, there's a situation that has already been observed in the past, then AI is good at predicting what will be the outcome. It's also good at detecting any deviation for those recurrent patterns, and therefore alerting about any anomalies, any incidents. On the other end, it's not particularly good at predicting what will happen under situations that haven't been experienced in the past, because AI doesn't get the relationship between cause and effect, between the need for people to move and the outcome that is a certain number of vehicles passing on a road. So we complement this with simulation. With simulation, with traffic models, we introduce the understanding of the causes, of the processes that are behind mobility, and therefore we can anticipate the outcome of unexpected events and also of interventions. So traffic management actions that the operator deploys in order to achieve a certain goal. So with Aimson Live, we serve mainly three functionalities. One is understanding what's going on, and for these, we combine all real-time data sources from loop detectors that are already installed for traffic signal actuations to floating car data, and we use these continuous feeds and historical data to identify patterns and to identify anomalies. So monitoring. The second use case is forecasting. So we use the understanding of the current state of the network to produce to anticipate how it will evolve in the next 60 minutes. And we do this continuously with simulation and with data analytics with AI. And finally, there's decision support. So when you are alerted about a problem, when you know you are exceeding some threshold of, for example, pollution, then it's time to decide an action to mitigate that. And thanks to simulation, you can test multiple options. You can assess the outcome of different actuations from the perspective of different performance indicators. So you can take a look at the outcome in terms of environmental indicators, while at the same time not penalizing too much things like travel time and congestion. And now back to Anita.
Thank you. So let's put that into action. We implement environmental traffic management holistically. First, we collect the data. Then the operator has a list of strategies at hand that are already pre-configured. And it is difficult then to understand which is now the right strategy for the entire network. There are really complex situations and easy situations that come often. There's already a tradition, but if there are really difficult situations, then the operator has difficulties to understand if I change something in one hotspot, how is the effect overall? So if I detour, for example, my travelers, how will this affect the overall travel time in the city? So we have now included AIMSUN simulation into our traffic management. That's the third step that helps the traffic operator to actually decide. Once they have decided, they activate out of this system their response plan. And last but not least, they can evaluate with our system whether what they have thought will happen and simulated what will happen, whether this actually had the effect that was desired. And of course, we need a wealth of data for that. First, the data for the modeling, and also many cities have other data that we include for our traffic management. So for example, in the city of Wiesbaden, has a state capital, we have included a lot of traffic detection. We have 50 environmental sensors. We use the historical data, and also we use all of these data in other cities where we implemented the environmental traffic management. And very importantly, out of the system, the traffic operator can act and can control. And that depends then what are the tools that a traffic operator has at hand. First, it's obvious to change a signal plan. So for example, to reduce the flow of traffic into a city if there is too much air pollution. Then variable message signs could be used to detour travelers or to lower a speed, for example. Routing services can also be used via apps. Either we prepare it or also we send the information into existing apps. Many cities already have existing apps, and we only send the routing services the recommendations. Or cities might already send the information directly into the cars if they are already in vehicle to X. And really hard measures are if a city has already implemented a clean air zone or a tolling, or wants to also control the highway or tunnel. So now let's see what Wiesbaden has been doing. They asked themselves two questions. First, what is the current condition? They really wanted to understand how is the situation today. And secondly, what measures can they take to avoid a bad situation? With our digital lab, we worked with them in iterative processes, an agile development process. So every 2 weeks, we showed them what is the progress, we aligned what is the next epic to be developed, and they really had a very close interaction, and we made sure that there are three personas. It was the air quality manager, the traffic operator, and also the data analyst. We had these three personas that their needs are met. And they now know what is an anomaly in a traffic situation. So if there is a congestion, is that a normal congestion that happens every Monday morning at 8 o'clock? Or is that something that is really exceeding this normal congestion? And they also know whether the air pollution is also on a normal level or whether this is also exceeding what is normal. And very importantly, they understand the correlation between traffic and weather, because it doesn't make sense to change the traffic and weather, traffic and air pollution, because it doesn't make sense to change the traffic measures if it doesn't have an effect on the air pollution. And last but not least, of course, weather has a really high impact on the air pollution as well. Then the second part, and here comes in AIMSUN, is what can we do to already reduce the air pollution before it exceeds the thresholds? And when I do something in one area of the city, how does that affect other areas in the city? And in Wiesbaden, they were particularly interested in the public transport travel times. For the first part, for the current analysis, I just picked some of the dashboards that Digital Lab has, so our Digital Lab, Unix Traffic Digital Lab, has created together with the customer, to give you a little bit an overview of how these correlations and how deep these data are that the customer can now look into. I give you one example. It's the correlation between air pollution and weather. It's a short video that I have prepared. So here you can see we select a specific sensor that we want to analyze. We select on which day of the week we want to analyze it, or whether all days of the week, on what time, and we want to see the correlation between weather data. So for example, temperature or rain or snow or pressure and or for example, wind. And therefore they can see what is the difference, how the values flow over the time. They see the peaks and can also then understand what is a normal part and what's not. So now let's put ourselves in the second part. This is the city of Wiesbaden, and we see here on the ring road there is a traffic congestion. We see the red lines, level of service. They also have the possibility to look into the prognosis, so the forecast of traffic. And if we look on this part that leads to the ring road, there's not an ideal situation. Now we want to look at the air quality part and look at the forecasted value. So we also switch here the view. And also there we see in 1 hour, we see that the air quality is forecasted to be really, really bad. Now, I'm the traffic operator, and the first question that I ask myself is, shall I do nothing? That's, of course, the first alternative, because it could be that through weather or through other measures and through the development of traffic, the situation already gets improved. Because I have a wealth of strategies at hand, and I don't know the impact on the entire city, I now can choose from those strategies and can determine which I want to choose for the other alternatives. So let's go into the simulation now. You see, right from the traffic management, we go directly into the simulation. It's one tool. So for the second alternative, I now choose that I reduce the flow into the city, and I reduce that heavily. So on all those intersections that are around this difficult area, I reduce the flow heavily. And I choose now, and here I choose it one by one, but of course you can also group it and can already choose it fast. I did that now for the second alternative, because I now I want to analyze, is it maybe enough if I only reduce the flow just a little bit? Because what is my expected outcome? that the air pollution goes down if I reduce the cars coming into the city, but the travel time will of course go up. And there is a limit how much I can do that. So let's have a look. Now let's switch on the simulation. And Wiesbaden has given themselves aggregated KPIs. So they have a very clear idea of where they target. Starting with the total traffic score, this is the highest aggregated score, and going down to the environmental score, which is very important for them. The lower the value, the better. And here we see an alternative 2. This is not so good for the traffic. And this is what we expected, of course. We keep the cars outside of the city and they travel around, and it takes longer for them to come to their destination. However, the environmental score was really going down to 37, from 39 to 37. And actually we see the alternative 3 didn't have an impact on the environment at all. Hence, I now want to optimize the environmental score, so I choose the environmental score and take alternative 2 right away out of my system. So I don't need to change any system, any software. I do it right away from here. Now let's assume I want to have more detailed information. I want to optimize one particular sensor, maybe because this is the official sensor that is measured against my penalty. So I can also do that and also simulate the next 15, 30, 45, 60 minutes. You see that on the bottom. And you can then also see what would be the effect on this specific sensor that you're looking at. And in my case, it is again, I take now Schiersteiner Straße, nitrogen dioxide, and also there the environmental score is better than in the other alternatives, and I would again from here choose the alternative 2. And then I can look back on the map, and it has been recalculated that the forecasted air quality is much better than it was before. So mission accomplished. So Wiesbaden has installed a very comprehensive environmental traffic management system. We have core applications for our systems. They use the map that you just saw. They have operator notifications. Of course, a very good user management is needed so that it's clear what are the roles of each user, what are they allowed to see, and what are they allowed to do in the system. Service notification and system monitoring. These are the core applications that are an essential part of each of our systems. And then they chose many of the other modules. So for example, traffic detection or a response plan that we just saw in the response plan evaluation. They also did this environmental forecasting and environmental detection. And last but not least, they also have the control, so the traffic signal control, and they are able to optimize their green waves, just to give some examples. So does now every city need to have all of that? Certainly not. You can start really small. Of course, everybody needs to have these core applications, and then it's sufficient if you detect traffic, if you detect what is environmentally ongoing, and have response plans and can control something. And this is even, you can even automate it by saying at a certain threshold, you want to activate a certain response plan. So also for cities who are small and who don't have operators that can 24/7 work on the system, it's easy to do environmental traffic management. And now I would like to hand over to Paolo to give us some insights and conclude with the benefits and the results of our work so far.
Thanks, Anita. So what we've seen in this short demo is that the traffic management platform is offering, first of all, an overview, an understanding of what's going on. We can call this situational awareness, right? So we can know what's the starting point, what's happening in the network in the city. Then based on these, we can have alarms. We can understand when we are approaching some critical situation, exceeding some thresholds. And when this happens, we can test multiple options. We can test different ways of acting, of reducing the values back within the threshold. And all these in real time and testing these options in a simulated environment before deploying it to the field. So a fully decision support application. Does this traffic management system produce tangible outcomes? Well, yes, there's a study by the Federal Institute for Highway Research in Germany in 2020 that has analyzed different environmental traffic management systems and has identified what improvements from the environmental perspective these systems can produce, and you see here some figures. Where are Aimsun and Unix traffic solutions deployed around the world? Well, we've talked today about a range of solutions. So we've said there's environmental traffic management without simulation. There's planning, long-term planning, so without real-time actuations. And there are real-time decision support systems with or without environmental traffic management. So on this map, you see a variety of dots with different colors for this different solution. You see that in Germany, environmental traffic management solutions are particularly important and deployed. And then there are other cities around the world, even in North America or in Australia, that have traffic management platforms based on Aimsun Live, but not focused necessarily on environmental traffic management. So really what we present today is scalable, can be deployed in cities and on freeway corridors, and it can deal with the traffic situation of places so different as New York, Paris, and Abu Dhabi. And for the final words, over to Anita.
Yes. So we're done. We're not done now. We have already in mind what's coming next. We see that the ecosystem is expanding. We see that we cooperate with sensor providers, with insights providers, software as a service providers who give us more insights and inputs into where there are hotspots and into the area of how to measure environmental impact. And also we ourselves are developing cooperative or adaptive traffic control that will also help us in that. And we see that the users will be more and more included into the decision making. So we see that we need to incentivize the travelers to take the right routes. And so via, for example, via the mobile apps or via the message signs, I think it will be more and more important that we also activate the users. Then we will have additional use cases. We see that carbon neutrality is becoming more and more important, and that pollution sources is not only on the measures that I showed you so far, but also that abrasion or light or noise are also pollutants, and that will need to be taken into account. We talked about low emission zones, and of course you can also more increasingly make them temporary low emission zones. Let's imagine, for example, that around a kindergarten or an elderly home at certain times of the day, you can make this a low emission zone, and in other parts of the day where it's maybe not needed, then you can let the traffic better flow. And who thought, oh, I'm well below the thresholds. might experience that the thresholds will go down so that they also go closer to the thresholds. And anyway, it should be intrinsically that we try to reduce the air pollution as much as possible. So we already foresee the pollution thresholds probably will go down. And we see also just completely new use cases for the environmental mobility topics. Parking and dedicated lane management, for example, for electric vehicles, or demand responsive transit. Aimson is working on that. Or the coordination of fleets. We are working in projects, in research projects, where we also give the traffic operator more possibilities to coordinate the different multimodal or even autonomous fleets. And now I would like to end with a little outlook and a little in another video on the Traffic Symphony, which is our next generation platform. And then afterwards we will have enough room for questions. And of course you can meet us at the booth today and tomorrow, or of course on unexttraffic.com or on LinkedIn.
May I have a round of applause for both of you?
Thank you.
Thank you, both. Do we have any questions? Yes. Hold on. I'm going to come over with a microphone. Could you introduce yourself as well, please?
Hello, Stefan Reul, Yim Optik. Did you consider the pollution, if you have the pollution reduced for a certain area, what is in your scope, that there's maybe more pollution on other areas because of longer journeys or whatever, the cars need to go around for something? Is that taken overall, or is just the pollution reduction for a certain street in focus of your simulation and your work?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I answer now for the city of Wiesbaden, where they have implemented 50 environmental sensors, and they, of course, are all over the city. And in the environmental score, they have then included the wealth of sensors, and they can also, in the detailed analysis, can optimize the value on one specific sensor. They can look down to that. And the question was also for the modeling, right?
Yes, well, in terms of simulation, the simulation runs always the entire city, and then the outputs are calculated both by area and for the entire city. So ultimately, it's down to the traffic management manager to decide whether there's a specific area in focus or it's the overall city that needs to be taken into account.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Good. Anyone else? Well, I have a question that I'm asking everyone here almost on stage, and it's all about around one topic. Traffic management, and I know that road operators have different sources of information. So they could use your data, but they also have their own sensors and other input. Does it work together?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I just want to stress that
yes,
for everyone. Yeah.
because also that's why we showed in the end the video open and secure.
Yes.
This is so important.
Yeah.
And also what we showed in the beginning on the left side, the wealth of data, that doesn't only come from our system. It can come from the city's system, from other partners,
From floating traffic,
from
floating
floating
data.
car data.
Yeah.
It is so essential that we use what is already there, and that it's open, that other sources of information can be added.
Great,
Yes.
great. I would like to thank you for joining us here this afternoon. I would like to thank you for watching us through our recording. And of course, once more, thank you guys for presenting.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I'm just going to stand on the stage as well next to you, just to make a link to the next session we're having. At 4:45, we have our last session of today, and it's about weather and air quality information in optimizing smart traffic management. So there's some use cases and some technologies to be shared on that. If you're interested, please join us. If not, enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.